Okay, so for everybody that's watching this video, watching this webinar online, thank you for joining us. We're talking today about interchange fees. We were just talking in an introduction about what interchange fees are. Interchange fees are what's charged by the bank to process a card. So whether that's a check card or a debit card that's tied to a bank account, or it's a credit card, they're all tied to a bank. And when the bank issues those funds, the issuing bank charges an interchange fee. Now there's a really big misconception. I want to make sure you understand it. So first of all, interchange fees themselves, they seem complicated because there's so many of them, but it's really just a math equation. It's like saying 2 plus 2 equals 4, okay? What I mean by that is, if I take a Visa card and I swipe it through the terminal in a store and it's under $15, then it's CPS small ticket. It's a math equation. It's a complicated one because there's so many of them, but it's a math equation. It's not really as complicated as everybody makes it out to seem. It's certainly not in any way subjective, where, if they do it one way at this business, it's going to be this and the other. It's a math equation. There's a lot of variables. It's very complicated in terms of there's so many of them, but it's not complicated in terms of understanding that it just works. It's a math equation. When somebody runs a card, they're going to have a certain interchange fee. But here's the big misconception in our industry. If a merchant is currently paying a certain level of interchange cost, that does not in any way mean that that would be their interchange cost moving forward. All right. And let me give you a really good example of this. Some of you may have read the blog article that I put out earlier today, but I want to bring it up again because I think it's so important to understand this. One of our salespeople that's down in Florida, Dan McCarthy, he had sent us a statement. Actually, the merchant does about $600,000 a month with all their locations, but he had sent me one statement where they did about $185,000 a month in volume. They were currently priced at interchange plus, I think, 8 basis points and maybe 5 cents or something. So very, very low competitive pricing already. And of course, he sent this statement out to all these various different processing companies. Well, all of the processing companies sent him back proposals, statement analysis. And they said, okay, we can save the merchant $50 or $70 or $60, somewhere in that $50 to $70 a month range. And that was by taking the basis points down to like 6 or 4 basis points. Well, of course, there's very little profitability, if any, there, depending on which program you're using. And so that wasn't very attractive for Dan as the sales rep because he's not going to make very much money on that deal. Also, it's not very attractive for the merchant because they're going to save $50. They're not going to switch to him for that. This is a place that does, $600,000 a month. You think they're going to switch because they can save $100? They're not going to switch because of that. So Dan went into our tool here, into this tool, and in this tool, it showed that, it's actually funny, let me see real quick, I might actually have it still in here. No, I don't. Anyway, anyway, so he went in and he went into our system, put it in the instant quote tool. We showed that we were going to save the merchant between $500 to $700 a month. $500 to $700 a month versus $50 to 70. I think actually one of them was over 100, but still, our savings was like dramatically more. So he sent me the statement and the proposal and said, like, what in the world is going on? How on earth would my quote tool show savings of hundreds of dollars a month? It just doesn't seem legitimate. And I understand that, that thought process. Well, here's what had happened. The credit card processing companies, you have to understand something about them. The people in the statement analysis department at these credit card processing companies, I have met many of them. I've talked to many of them. And these are well-meaning people. These are people that in many cases are very smart, but they have a very specific process. Now, I personally, and this will probably surprise some of you, I have worked with, 20 different credit card processing companies at least in terms of consulting with them or selling for them or working with them in some way. None of those 20 companies even look at the interchange fees before they do a statement analysis. Let me say that again. None of the credit card processing companies I know of even look at the interchange fees before they do a statement analysis. All they do is they say, okay, the current interchange is $273 a month. So on your statement analysis, they go, okay, so with us, it's going to be $273 a month. That is absolutely incorrect. It is not right at all, not even close. Okay, because there are so many variables. Is this merchant going to process transactions the same way with you as they are currently? You know, what kind of equipment are you going to be providing them? Are they going to be processing differently based on the equipment that's being provided? Are they currently getting downgrades because they're batching out too late? And so they're downgrading, and is that still going to be a problem, or are you going to fix that problem? And so the main point I wanted to get across before I started into this, because it's really the key to understanding the value of the instant quote tool. The value of the instant quote tool is not that we have the best statement analysis software out there. We don't. I'd be glad to give you the name of several of our competitors that have a better statement analysis tool than we do. I'm not trying to make statement analysis better. I'm trying to eliminate it. Okay, so you want to do your side-by-side comparison and all that. I have a couple of things to tell you that's really maybe some bad news for you. Number one, 3 years from now, you're not going to be able to get a statement. Okay, everybody's going to have e-statements where they won't even have a copy, or they're going to be not trusting you, because think of it, for those of you that have been in the industry a while, how much harder is it to get a statement now than it was 5 years ago? People, whatever, and they don't have a statement. The other big problem is that you're doing a statement analysis, whether you're using one of our competitors and you're going through all this rigmarole to do a side-by-side comparison. The other problem is you go through all that, and then how much savings are you actually able to show the merchant? Like, $20? So are you really going to make that sale, right? So what happens is the whole industry, in my opinion, I think the entire industry is going in the wrong direction. And I think I'll be proved right over a period of time, over the next 3 to 5 years. The whole industry has basically decided that because we can't offer savings anymore, we need to go after selling point of sale systems and whatever else. And I drank that Kool-Aid for a while, and we tried it, and it doesn't work very well. It's very difficult. Certainly it can be done, but on a large sales team, many of you watching this right now are thinking to yourself, I don't want to sell a point of sale system. I don't want to sell a website. I don't want to sell something else to create value. I actually just want to go in there, offer them savings. I want to be the expert in credit card processing. And I have good news for you. You can do that, but you have to have a way. You have to understand interchange, and you have to have a way to go after the interchange costs and how to save them money on interchange. So let me go back to my story. So what had happened with this merchant we talked about, $185,000 in volume. They were paying $3,500 a month in interchange. Well, all of the other processing companies, they did a statement analysis, and they came back with $3,500 in interchange, and then they were trying to take his 8 basis points and knock it down to 6 or 4 to save him $50. Our program went into an algorithm. We had no idea what his current interchange was because we didn't even ask. So we just said, based on this business type and this average ticket size, the interchange fee should be $2,500. Yeah. $2,500, that's $1,000 less than what this merchant was paying a month. Now, again, that number is very large because it's a large volume merchant, but even on the smaller $20,000, $10,000 a month merchants, it still makes a big difference. It could be an extra $50 a month, $100 a month in savings. So when I looked at the statement, I talked to Dan, and the first thing I asked him was about the average ticket size. I'm going to show you some stuff here in a minute about this. Okay, so I have it pulled up here, and I took care to remove any of the sensitive information here. And again, I'm going to walk you back through and do a full demo in a second, but I just want to finish talking about this one particular deal here. So, all right, so here's the merchant. I found it in the database. So we pulled it up, and here's how the volume breaks down. Now, they also do some American Express volume as well, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we looked at $2,566 in interchange costs. Currently, they were paying around $3,500. And the way that we got this $2,500 number right here is that our algorithm went in and used what I talked about earlier, used the logic. It's a very, I don't want to say complicated is the wrong word. I guess it's complicated. I don't know. For me, it's not that complicated of an algorithm, but it's a lot of variables. And so we use that to create this right here. Okay? And this just shows us what their interchange table should look like. And so on the statement, they didn't say what the interchange was. It wasn't itemized at all. And, that's, first of all, that's a red flag. Whenever I see a statement where it's interchange plus pricing and they don't itemize the interchange, well, right off the bat, I'm going to be pretty skeptical about that. But in this case, I was able to identify pretty quickly what the problem was. I asked Dan, I said, Dan, what's the average ticket size? He told me what it was. The average ticket size that we use for this particular business type, I think, is around $325, or it was $425, and this one was about $325. So very close. It wasn't off by, it wasn't 5 times higher than what we predicted here, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So I knew that I knew that the interchange was correct. The $25.66 is what they should be paying in interchange. So then the question becomes, why are they paying $3,500 in interchange? And usually the solution is very simple. I got it on the first guess. I told Dan, I said, let me take a guess here. I said, let me make an assumption. I said, I'm going to guess that they're processing 25 to 30% of their transactions over the phone, but they're keying them into a standard credit card terminal. And Dan said, how could you know that? That's exactly what they're doing, and it was exactly what was happening, because I understand interchange, and I was looking at the interchange table, and I realized that the only way that their interchange could be $1,000 higher than what it should be is if a large majority of the transactions were actually going to the keyed in interchange tables that are further down the page. Okay, and either that or they were being downgraded and things of that nature. Like down here, we have our retail key entered debit transactions and some other ones, and so I realized that that's what was happening. So I was able to talk to Dan about it. So when you click on compare programs here, we can see that some of these programs, he ended up going, I think, with the... So basically what happened with that one was we identified a core issue, an interchange issue, and what he was able to do is go back and talk to the merchant, and all we had to do to fix this problem is we set them up with Authorize.net, an online payment gateway, and now when they take orders over the phone, they can go in and save their customers, so they don't have to enter it every time, but they have to enter the CVV code off the back of the cardholder's name, and the billing address. And by doing those 3 things, it takes a transaction that should be, right now they're paying 2.2%. It took it down to like a 1.6 or even a less than that for some of the check card transactions when they keyed it in. And so basically all it did is it kept the transactions from being downgraded with additional risk. And again, that's one of the very simple ways you can help people, is that if they're taking phone transactions and they're not putting all the data in, that's going to create a problem. So the thing I really want to point out in this is that the interchange fees that they're currently paying, there's a couple things that could be happening with that. Number one, those interchange fees could be marked up. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people in the industry, a lot of processors that are just marking up interchange. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're marking it up. They're adding fees that don't exist in interchange, and they're calling them, whatever it is, the interchange surcharge, whatever, trying to make a complicated name that looks like interchange and it's not interchange, and they're just adding it into the interchange table. I mean, I see it all the time. So to say that what they're currently paying in interchange is what they're going to continue paying is totally wrong, because, many times interchange is marked up. Also, many times they're not processing cards the way that they should process cards. Okay? And so, I want to take that and use that as a segue to get into talking to you about, the instant quote tool. So what is the instant quote tool? What is it really for? What's the purpose of the instant quote tool? Well, the ultimate goal of the instant quote tool is going to be to completely replace statement analysis. Okay, totally replace the entire statement analysis process. Right now, I'm going to click on this little IQ tool here. I want to show you some new features that we added today by way of doing kind of a demo. Up here, when you click on this little icon here, once you're logged in and click on your profile, it'll come up, and this is where you can do things like change your password, change your email address, etc. But also, if you click up here on the program wizard, this is really where you want to start. Some of you are already on our free trial and you haven't gone in here yet. You really need to go in here. And what this is a list of programs, so you have a basis to start with to see some examples. Others of you, maybe you have no programs in there yet and you need to add some. And so what you can do is you can click right here on the program wizard and you can go through and add programs, which I'm going to show you that in a second. But what you can do that's actually a little bit easier now, this is a new feature that was just added today. Over here to the left, you're going to have 3 possible actions, okay? Now, some of the programs are public programs. And here, I'm going to walk you through this wizard step by step. The minimum volume, this is where, again, you're going to put what merchants does this program qualify for. Many of you are already familiar with how this works. If you're not, this is going to be one of the best learning experiences you can go through, is working with us and working with your processor to create your programs. I am amazed, absolutely shocked at how many salespeople don't know what programs they're selling. They don't know what their bin sponsorship is. They don't know what their authorized transaction cost is. They don't know these core basic numbers that you need to know those. Otherwise, how do you know who to place a deal with and make money? And so this is going to be a great learning experience for you. You put in your minimum volume. So in this case, because this is a residual only program, there's no qualification. Now, if this was like one of the upfront bonus programs, they might say you have to do at least $3,000 in volume in order to qualify for this program, okay? You don't ever need to put commas in, you just put the numbers in. So 3,000 in volume, and then in this case though, it's gonna be 0, there's no really, no minimum. And then over here, I'm gonna click this no max, and that's gonna take it down, it's gonna say 0, but what that means is that there's just no max. Any deal, if they do $1 million a month, if they do, $10 a month, they qualify for this program. The upfront bonus, there is no upfront bonus on this particular program, but there's a 70% residual split, okay? The per item fee, the minimum per item fee here, I'm going to take that up and I'm going to make this an 8 cent. So this is the transaction fee. Now again, understand you'll be able to increase all of this pricing later, which I'll show you in a minute with the pricing wizard. So you want to put in here your absolute minimums. In other words, how low are you allowed to go on this program? Okay, that's what you need to know here. So we're going to put it in at 8. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do a little lower. I'm actually going to do this one at 5 cents. Okay, the per item cost is 3.9 cents, and again, that's the Schedule A per item cost. In other words, if you're looking at calculating residual, every time you charge the merchant 5 cents, the processor is going to take the first 3.9 cents. In this case, for this program, your program, it might be 5 cents, or it might be 2 cents, or it might be 1 cent, it might be whatever. So you have to put that in. Then the minimum basis points of markup, and here's where I'm going to change it. I'm going to say, okay, I'm only going to do 25 basis points of markup. The bin sponsorship, this is really important too. The bin sponsorship, that's the cost of the basis points. So 25 basis points of markup with a 4 bin sponsorship means that I'm going to get 21 basis points of profit that's going to be calculated for my residuals. Down here you have your terminal types. Now this right here is going to change into the system wizard. And we don't have that one done yet, but it still allows you to put some basic stuff in here if you want to put, like, is it a lease, a purchase, or whatever, you can put that in there. But that's going to be the system wizard that we're going to be coming out with very soon. Probably in about 3 weeks that one will come out. Then we're going to click next. Here we have our fixed fees, things like the minimum monthly fees you can charge, the monthly fee cost, again from the Schedule A, the monthly PCI fee, the monthly PCI cost, the minimum monthly debit fee, the monthly debit fee cost. Okay, and this right here, you do want to put some information in here. So the minimum debit fee, and actually this program, that's actually not correct. It's 00 here. There's no cost, but there is a minimum monthly debit fee of what is it, $10, I believe, on this one. No, actually it's 0. I'm sorry, it's actually 0. You don't have to do a debit fee on this program. I'm just trying to think of the actual program. But again, some of them are different. Some of them require this. Now, obviously, when you put something like a minimum monthly debit fee in, our program is smart enough to know that that only applies when they're actually processing debit. Okay, and again, keep in mind, you could add a debit fee later. Right now, we're just trying to put in the minimums to qualify for the program. There's no annual fee for this one, and there is no annual PCI cost. There's a monthly PCI cost. Next, the dues and assessments. Let's see here. I need to put this in. We didn't have this entered in here. Whoops, 15. So this is the dues and assessments. And so this is an example. This particular processing company does mark up the dues and assessments above what Visa and MasterCard actually charge. When you go to the wizard and try to create a brand new program, which I'll show you in a minute, it has the actual true cost in there, the defaults. Okay. Next, here's the other fees. So we have the batch fee. The minimum batch fee is 5 cents. The cost is 5. It's actually 5.5 cents. Okay. The minimum debit fee, I'm going to leave that alone at 8. I don't remember what it is, but I don't think you want to go lower than 8 on that. Minimum cost, or the PIN debit per item fee cost. Next day funding monthly fee. Next day funding monthly cost. Those got switched around there. Hold on. This is actually $4.95. And again, I'm just putting the correct numbers in here from memory. I think I got them pretty close to right here. The minimum Amex per item fee and the Amex per item fee cost. The minimum Amex basis point fee and the Amex basis point cost. So again, this 15, this is on American Express Opt Blue. This is what the costs are. The minimum application fee, if there is one, and the application fee cost if you charge it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and save this. And that's going to give us a new program, which is right here. The cool thing, maybe you took that and said, okay, now I just made all those changes, but James, now I want to make one that does where I get, I'm going to take it to 30 basis points instead of 25. Well, you don't have to change everything. All you have to do is click on this little button right over here to clone it again. Okay, and now you're just going to replace this over here with 30 BP. You're just going to change the basis points of markup, which, let's see here, basis points of markup's right here, 30. Next, and all the other stuff's already in here that we changed. Next, everything's all already there. Next, save, and now we're going to have a new one. So we know the way it works is they have different minimum basis points of markup, as you can see right over here, based on the volume. So if the merchant does 25,000 or more in volume, you have to price them at 20 basis points. If they do 50,000 or more, you can price them at 15, and if they do 100,000 or more, you can price them at 5. So you can see that, and so what you would do is you would create the first one, then hit clone twice, and then create these other ones, so that the only one that shows up is the one that matches the volume criteria here. Okay. So once you've created these programs, now we're going to go back here. I'm going to click on this IQ tool, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new prospect so I can kind of walk you through that. So down here in the lower right-hand corner, if you click on this little plus button, now this has been a screen that's been a little bit confusing for some of the salespeople. This has a list of business types, okay? Now, currently, these are the only business types that we support in the system, and what you have to understand about this is I'm working on a new expanded algorithm that's going to basically cover every SIC code, and I would say I am probably a month away from rolling that out. It's going to be amazing, but right now I wanted to really focus in on the main business types to make sure that our algorithm was working very, very accurately, and so we loaded in I don't know, thousands of merchants into this system to, make sure all of these are covered. So now you're just going to pick the one that meets the criteria that you're looking for. So let's say in this case, let's pick a, I don't know, let's pick a restaurant, quick service restaurant. So we choose that, and we're going to put in the name, test restaurant. And of course, you can put some other basic CRM stuff in here, the contact name, phone, email, source type, and the stage. Prospect contacted, quoted, closed yes, closed no. So I'm going to save and quote. So when I save and quote, that one is now in the prospects. So if I clicked on this and that's all I put in there, and I clicked on a little IQ up here, or clicked on the prospects, you can see the test restaurant is right here. And I could go in here and add notes to it. I could change this information here, or I could click on quote, and that's going to create a new quote. Okay, but because I'm assuming you're standing in front of the merchant, and again, this looks totally different on your phone. It's mobile enabled. It looks great on your phone, but it goes right here to the quote tool. So now we want to put the statement month. So let's say this was the July statement. So now we're going to put in the total volume. And so let's say this particular merchant does, $18,650 in volume. Again, notice I didn't put any commas in there. You want to just put the number in, $18,650. Then we look at total American Express volume, okay? And again, if you don't know that number, just skip it and go to the next one. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get a pretty good bid, even if you don't have the statement. But if they do some American Express, ask them. Let's say in this case they do 1,500 American Express and they do 1,000 in PIN debit. Okay, then you have the average ticket size over here. Now this is really, really important for a couple of reasons that I want to point out to you. Number one, I want to give you a negative. It is the only current hole in the algorithm that I created. Okay, let me explain this to you. Let's say that this was another business type, because not a quick service restaurant. Let's say that instead that this was a retail clothing store. You know what? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. And I'm gonna create a new one, and I'm gonna give you a better example of this. So let's create a new merchant account, and let's say that it's a retail clothing store. When I choose that, and I go, the name of the business is Susan's Clothing Shop. Whoops, Susan's Clothing Shop. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Susan's Clothing Shop 2, and we save and quote. We can see here that it has an average ticket size of $101.84. And a lot of the salespeople have been like, well, what's that? Why is there an average ticket size there? Well, the average ticket size is there because that's running from our algorithm. So we looked at all of our retail clothing businesses in our database, and we took the average ticket size across all of them and came up with $101.84. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Let's say that you were doing a June statement for somebody, and let's say that they did, $60,000 a month in volume. They did, $7,000 in American Express. They didn't take PIN debit, so you left that blank. But you looked at their average ticket size, and their average ticket size was $563, right? Well, we predicted that the average ticket size was going to be 100, but theirs is 563. So that tells you that this business does not in any way match the businesses that are in our database. And so currently, I'm going to show you why, but currently our interchange fees are going to be off in that situation, okay? So, in other words, our solution right now works with the business types we have loaded, but if you put some random business in there that doesn't match the types that we have, the interchange is not going to be accurate. And I'll show you why it's like that and how I'm going to fix it. I already have it about 60-70% finished, but I'm going to show you what it's going to do. It's going to be amazing. So down here, we're going to put the total fees in. Let me think about that for a second. 18, I'm going to say 1,600 is their current fees. When I click create, this is where it's going to take a couple seconds to load because our algorithm is running, and it didn't take too long, but it goes through and it creates this interchange table down here, and it says that their interchange for this particular business should be $504.37. Okay, now, in reality, this particular business probably would have an interchange fees of double that, probably $900 to $1,000. You say, oh, James, your tool doesn't work. My tool does work. It just only works for the business types that we have loaded right now. How often are you going to run into a clothing store that has an average ticket of $600, right? It's not going to happen very often. But let me explain what it is and how we're going to fix it. So what is happening there is, you see how up here at the top we have this U.S. regulated, and we show that 13,000 of this 53,000 of Visa, MasterCard Discover volume is running as regulated check card, which only cost them $12. Okay, and then down here you have this Merit 3 base, which is like rewards cards, and then down here you have these rewards cards. Okay, the reality is a business that has an average ticket size that high, a much larger percentage of their transactions are going into the higher ones, like down here, the rewards 1. And so instead of, here it has 4,000 going into rewards for Visa versus 13,000 US regulated, those numbers are probably flipped in this situation. So there's a lot more rewards cards. So my point about that is, my algorithm is designed, you have to understand it has to be designed to not only predict interchange, but it has to predict consumer behavior. I have to predict consumer behavior based on that business type. And so I'm not predicting consumer behavior correctly because this is not the right business type. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So what we're going to do is very simple. I have a new algorithm I'm building that when that happens and when you change my average ticket size that I predicted to be like 5 times higher or more than 25% higher, this other algorithm is going to kick in and it's going to look at the consumer behavior. I have this whole consumer behavior index thing built, and it's going to adjust it and it's going to increase the amount of rewards cards so that it will be accurate for every business that we have in the system, even if the average ticket size is significantly higher. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to point out. Now, having said that, now let me go back here to the screen and let's talk about some other things though, okay? So let's say that you ran this particular merchant and let's say you hit create, let me change this, and let's say that we have an average ticket size of $120 because I predicted 101, and when you actually looked at the statement, it was pretty close, it was only 120. And again, you don't even have to have the statement for this to work, just ask the merchant what's your average ticket size. So you click create, and I'm about to show you the other features that we have in here that are just amazing. 2 other new features I want to show you today. Actually 3, but 2 that are already live. So when we see this here and we see $557 in interchange fees, let's say that you looked at their statement and you saw that actually on their statement they had $820 in interchange. Now, then you send it into the statement analysis department and they send back a proposal that also says it has 700 and whatever, the same interchange. Well, in your mind, it's very tempting to think, oh, okay, so the statement analysis was correct and James's tool was wrong. Actually, no, you have to understand the statement analysis department, they didn't even look at interchange. They didn't even look at it, okay? What you've got to do is take that statement and try to match it up over here and see why it doesn't match. Because if the average ticket size was correct, it's a math equation. If you selected the right business type with the right average ticket size and you hit create, then this is the correct interchange. This is what they should be paying. If they're paying more than this, that means that one of several things could be happening. In this case, let me give you a couple of examples. Maybe what you don't realize is that they do 30% of their business with an online e-commerce website. Well, an e-commerce website has a totally different interchange, and so that's increasing the interchange. And we're going to be dealing with that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Or maybe they're taking a lot of orders over the phone, like what I mentioned earlier, and those Modo transactions, they're not putting the right data in, and so they're getting downgraded. Or maybe they're not batching their terminal out at the right time. Okay? Or maybe they're running, I don't know, they're getting a lot of the wrong kind of cards, and there's something that they're doing that's wrong. And what you have to understand that's so huge and why this tool matters is that if you can fix that thing that's wrong, then you can make this sale because you're going to save them like $400 or $500 a month instead of 20 bucks. Okay? This is what my tool is designed to do right here. Now, yes, I have other things that it does, okay? And I'm working on improving those things to beat our competitors. And I promise you within 3 months, I'm going to say within 3 months, none of our competitors will have a tool that's even close to ours in terms of even proposals and side-by-side comparisons and all that stuff. But to me, none of that matters unless you can show them savings and unless you can show them some kind of value proposition. So this is what it does, all right? Now, when I hit compare programs, I want to show you a couple things here. First of all, I want to show you that you will notice my 2 new programs that I just created are right here showing the amount of savings. And as you would expect, the one that's at 30 basis points has slightly less savings than the one that has 25, of course, okay? Now, I want to show you a new feature that we have here. So this will just have all the programs you have loaded into your system. If you're like, well, I don't see very many programs, that means that you don't have very many programs loaded in your profile. So you need to go back here to your profile and add more programs, okay, with the program wizard. Now, what if you say, well, James, I have like 10 programs, but only 2 of them showed up? Well, that's because this particular merchant didn't qualify with volume. So maybe in your case, I think I put in here that they do, 20,000 in volume, I think, or something like that. Maybe in your case, you have something in there that says this program is only for up to 10,000 in volume. Well, if they do 20,000, then that program wouldn't show up because it doesn't qualify. Or maybe they do 2,000 in volume and all of your programs say that it has to be at least 3,000. Well, then they don't qualify, right? So that's kind of the idea here. You've got to, and if that happens, it's going to redirect you back to the programs page, by the way, so you can create a new program, all right? But I'm assuming that you got some programs that would show up here. So I want to show you the second feature. So the first feature that we rolled out today was the cloning feature in the programs, which will save you a ton of time, and it'll allow you to create a bunch of programs for whatever processor you work with. Here we have another feature. So you can programmatically change the pricing. Now, the next feature I'm going to show you is the pricing wizard, and that's where you can actually change the specific pricing numbers. This is a way to change the pricing on all of your programs instantly, which is pretty cool. So understand that it loaded them all in here at the minimum pricing guideline. So for example, this one here, I told you it was going to be at 30 basis points. That was the minimum pricing and a 5-cent transaction fee. So that's what we set it at. That was the minimums. So that's what it loaded in. Now notice there is no button here that says increase savings because I can't increase the savings because it loaded all these programs in at the minimum pricing guidelines that I gave it. So how could I increase the savings? It's impossible, okay? But notice it does show me the bonus, the upfront bonus I would qualify for, the residual, and also the basis points of transaction fee and the savings. So it gives me everything I need to compare the programs. But what if I looked at that and said, well, I'd kind of like to make some more money? Well, you can just click decrease savings. Well, what is that going to do? Well, of course, if you decrease the savings, you're going to increase your residuals, right? So let's take a look at that. Okay, now I want to show you that 3 things just happened when you clicked that button. Well, actually a lot of things happened, but 3 things that you can see happened, okay? Number 1, we decreased the savings by 20%, okay? We decreased the savings by 20%, which increased the residuals by whatever your percentage is of that profit. It increased your residuals by that much. Okay? And the third thing that it did is it popped up with an additional button here called increase savings. So you might say, oh, I decreased the savings, but no, that took a lot of them into the negative. I don't really want to do that. So you hit increase savings again. And now we're right back to our minimum. See that? So 191 in residual, 581 in savings. But if I hit decrease the savings, now my residual went up to 273 and my savings went down to 463. Okay? All right, so then because it takes it down by 20%, you can hit each of these buttons 5 times in a row and watch what happens. If I hit the decrease savings, I already hit it once. Let's hit it 4 more times. Ready? 1, took the savings down, the residual up. 2, took the savings down 20%, residual up. Notice what's happening to the basis points and the transaction fees. They're both increasing programmatically, automatically. Hit it again. Hit it again. Okay, and now the $99, we're working on subscription pricing. Don't pay any attention to that one. But all the other ones here, they all went to 0. This is break-even pricing. So if I price this merchant at 133 basis points and 14 cents on this program, then they are going to save no money, and I'm going to make $607 in residual. Now, what if I looked at that and said, well, obviously that's ridiculous, so I'm going to hit increase savings 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And guess where we're at? Well, now we can't increase the savings anymore because where are we? Well, we're right back down here to our minimum pricing guidelines. So to me, this is an incredible tool to have standing in front of the merchant. You don't have to adjust the pricing at all as long as you're doing interchange plus pricing. Sorry about that. Lost my audio for a second. I'm going to turn my video off here. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't hear me. If you have any problems with audio, let me know. But what that did is now that allowed me to increase or decrease the savings while standing in front of the merchant, and I can see exactly what that's going to do, how it's going to compare with all my different programs, which is an incredibly valuable tool. So let's say that I hit decrease savings once and I said, okay, that's where I want to present this one at. So I've got this 30 basis points here, but now it's at 50 basis points and 7 cents, and that's still saving them $463 a month, so I click present. Okay? Now when I click present, I now have 2 additional options here that I can use. Okay? The first option we have is save as PDF. Now, I'm not even rolling this out as a feature yet because honestly, it's not really a feature yet. It does work, but it doesn't work nearly the way that I want. The way you really want to do this is, I'm assuming you're going to be on your phone or your iPad. Just do a screenshot. There are tons of apps in the App Store that will convert a screenshot to a PDF, and then you can email it or text it to them. But you can click this if you need to if you're on your desktop. The reason I don't like it is because it does this. It looks okay, you know what I mean? But I'm not crazy about that. It's not like a beautiful, whatever. So it's okay. It works all right, but I'm not crazy about it. When we make our PDF wizard, or our proposal wizard, you're going to love that, and we're going to be replacing that with a proposal wizard, and that's going to pull all kinds of crazy stuff in, and we'll talk about that later. But when you click on the pricing wizard, so look at our total savings. Our total savings right now, we're showing total fees right now is $11.36, and we're saving them $4.63. But let's say I looked at this and said, I kind of want to adjust the pricing a little bit. Well, you just click on the pricing wizard, and this is going to walk you through the main pricing for interchange plus pricing that you can edit. So let's say I looked at it and said, I really want to take this back down to 40 basis points for Visa, MasterCard, and Discover instead of, what we had. And I'm going to take the transaction fee up to 8 cents. Now, the Amex basis points, we didn't even show you this yet. So again, this is why you need the pricing wizard. This shows you all of the assumptions we use behind the scenes. We just use the minimum pricing guidelines for everything else. So you might look at that and say, well, good night, I'm going to take them up to 50 basis points on American Express, and I'm going to make their transaction fee, 25 cents. Their PIN debit, I'm going to take their PIN debit fee up to 15 cents instead of 8. Hit the next step. And I say, okay, the monthly fee, I'm fine with that, but let's take their batch fee up. Let's make their batch fee 30 cents. So I'm already saving them a lot of money. There's a $9.95 PCI fee, annual fee. Let's give them an annual fee. We'll leave that. We'll say no annual PCI. We'll leave the annual fee and the application fee off. But they are doing some debit transactions, right? So let's add a $10, actually, were they doing debit? I can't remember if I put debit in there or not. But let's add a $10 monthly PIN debit fee, and then we'll click save. So now you can see that automatically changed the total fees and it changed the total savings. Okay? And of course, you have your annual savings and your 3-year savings. You also have right here your top 15 interchange line items right here so that you can go through that with them as well. So that's the pricing wizard. Again, it's all the features we're doing are hopefully very, very simple for you to understand and get. Let's see. Can everybody still see my screen? Is anybody having a problem seeing my screen or hearing my audio? If you guys could just kind of give me a little comment there. Again, I lost my my internet there for just a second. So hopefully everybody's able to see this. Can you guys just, a couple of you put a comment in there. Let me know if you can still hear me okay and if you can still see the screen okay. It's good. Okay, good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. All right, good. All right, so I just want to check on that and make sure. So we have the pricing wizard now, which is a really nice tool to be able to adjust the pricing. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to switch over to I'm running it on my local host, which means it's not in production yet, okay? And I'm going to switch over to that one right now. And I want to show you one other tool that is going to be coming to you next week. And that is going to be the statement wizard. And so in the same way that with the pricing wizard you can change all the pricing, the statement wizard allows you to change the cost. But I want to go through this one and spend about 5 minutes on this, and then I'll let you guys ask me as many questions as you want. If you have questions, you can go and start typing them out in the question box. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. When you click on the statement wizard here, What it's going to do, and again, you can see I haven't finished formatting it yet. I have another developer that does all the formatting and stuff, and so we just haven't gotten to it yet, but some of this stuff just isn't, in here correctly. But you can see that we have the Visa, MasterCard, Discover Credit, the volume and the number of transactions, the check card volume and the number of transactions, the American Express volume, number of transactions, PIN debit volume, number of transactions. So, this is stuff that you can edit all of this, stuff here to be, if you actually had a copy. So what this is for is, if you actually had a copy of the statement and you wanted to put the exact numbers in there to make sure it was exactly correct, not just as accurate as my algorithm can get it, which by the way is very, very accurate. But if you want to be really, a lot of you have said to me, hey, I really want this thing to be, exactly, I have the statement, where do I put this information in? Well, that's going to be the statement wizard. So you just put the stuff in there, hit the next one. Now this is where it gets really, really tricky, and this is why I didn't roll it out yet. I didn't really finish it yet because I want to change the algorithm around. So this is where it's really important. So this particular merchant, they have interchange in here of $166, okay? Now, let's say that you looked at the statement and their actual interchange on their statement was $212. Now, it'd be easy for me to just say, okay, just change it to 212 and hit save. But that would be a huge disservice to you and to the merchant. Because then I'm basically saying that the 166, which is what the interchange should be, I'm basically letting you just change the interchange and say, well, that's what it's going to be. Well, now I'm just doing the same thing statement analysis does, which I don't want to do because they're wrong and our algorithm is right because they're not even looking at interchange. We are looking at interchange. That's the whole purpose behind this. So here's what we're going to do. When you click 212 and hit save, and you save that interchange cost, now notice again, it didn't actually change it up here at all because I don't allow it to change the interchange yet. But here's what it's going to actually do. What it's actually going to do is it's going to look at the business type. It's going to look at the way the interchange table is set up. And when you put in 212, instead of changing the actual interchange cost to 212, instead, it's going to create a new column that compares the interchange and says there is a savings opportunity, and you can show this to the merchant. There is a savings opportunity of whatever that would be, 50, 60 bucks. And here is why we believe that savings exists. And we're going to put it right here in the middle above the interchange table. And we're going to give you some tips to give to the merchant. And you're going to be able to tell the merchant, and say, here's what we have for you, Mr. Merchant. In addition to what I've saved you on what I'm going to save you on the fees, before we even get to the fees, let me talk to you about your interchange. Are you running a lot of transactions over the phone? Or are you doing this? Or are you doing that? And I'm going to give you, programmatically, I'm going to create messages for you right here that you can use in your pitch. Can you imagine this? With the merchant in your pitch, you can show them and say, hey, based on the fact that you've got a $212 interchange fee and based on the fact that you're a restaurant, look at what our interchange algorithm is telling us. It's telling us that you could save an extra $400 a year if you processed your cards differently. So let me ask you a couple questions. Are you doing this? Have you thought about that? And I'm going to help you to be able to identify right in front of the merchant. You are going to look like the biggest expert ever. And you're going to identify in exact detail for the merchant why they're overpaying on their interchange and what they need to do to fix it with you. Imagine that. Now you go on to your statement wizard and we keep moving forward. Now again, I also am going to make the algorithm so that the interchange is always correct, even if the average ticket size is significantly higher and it's like a different business type. So I'm working on both of those changes. The first change is going to be that if you change the interchange amount, it's going to give you some reasons why that could be different, and that'll help you with the merchant. The second one will be I'm going to dramatically expand to where you can do every SIC code with my new algorithm, and that maybe is 3 to 4 weeks away. That one's a little bit further down the road. Okay, with that said, some of you asked me questions. If you could type them out again, if you had a question I didn't answer, my little question box just it went away. I clicked on it the wrong way there. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm ready to answer them. One thing while you're typing your questions out, obviously, if you're not in the program yet, please try it out. I'm giving it to you free for 30 days. I mean, seriously. How much do I have to do to get you to try this thing? It's free for 30 days, okay? And again, I'm trying to be as open and honest with you as I can about this. Is this the absolute best tool to create a beautiful side-by-side proposal comparison for the merchant? No, okay? But let me give you a little tip. That's not gonna help you make any sales right now. Unless you're saving them money, who cares how pretty the proposal is? They're not gonna care. Okay, so what we're focused on right now is first, and again, we're adding all that stuff as you can see. We're adding the pricing wizard, the statement wizard, we're adding, like for instance, one of the things I'm going to roll out next week, I'll show you. Let's see, let me click compare and choose one of these programs. When you click present here, you're actually going to have two tabs. One's going to be the summary tab and the other one's going to be the detail tab. And the detail tab is going to get a lot more detailed in terms of more like a side-by-side comparison with a lot of the itemized costs. For this 202 includes all your monthly fees, your basis points, and markup. Everything is included, whereas the new one is going to have everything split up. So it's a lot more detailed, and we'll have that up next week. So you'll have an extra tab there. Many of you asked for something like that. But definitely go there. All you have to do is go to instantquotetool.com, and I will log out and so you can see what it looks like. When you go to instantquotetool.com here, you can go down to start your 30-day free trial. Click on 30-day free trial. Let's create a fake one here. We'll do testing. Whoops. And so once you create that, it's going to pop this up. And we have a secure, it's a pop-up, so the information never touches our database at all. I mean, obviously, we're in credit card processing, so we know how to do that. When you click Start Your Trial, it's going to pop up with your credit card information, and you're going to be charged $99 30 days after your trial starts, unless you go into your, let me go back here. Let me log back in as me. If you are a user and you sign in, and you go to your profile right here, of course you can go down to cancel my account. So it's a free 30-day trial. There's no long-term commitment here. I mean, originally when I first rolled it out, you had to pay that day to get it. And by the way, if you're one of those people that paid the first day, we're actually going to give you a coupon for a free month because now we rolled out the 30-day free trial. So you're going to get that coming soon here when it gets close to the next billing cycle. But anyway, my philosophy right now is I really want the feedback more than anything because I want to make this tool the best in the industry by far and away. And so I would love your feedback. Try it for 30 days. If you try it for 3 weeks and you're like, I don't like it, it's not where it needs to be yet, and I don't want to pay for it, cancel it. But I'm telling you, by the time you get to 30 days from now, not only does it already provide a lot of value in terms of showing you interchange savings with the algorithm and allowing you to show the merchant that stuff, and also comparing the programs is amazing too to see which processor to put your deals with. That'll actually put dollars in your pocket. But again, 30 days from now, we're going to have a lot of the other advanced proposal engine type stuff that you want. So by the time you're actually paying your $99, probably if there's a feature that you want and you let me know about it, it's either already in the works or I'm going to put it in the works before you would actually pay for it anyway. All right, questions. Here we go. Let's see here. Free trial, cancel it. Yes, Dan, absolutely you can. Yes, Dan's asking, can he sign up for the 30-day free trial again? Yes, you can right now. And so Dan, the way that I have that set up is for everybody who signed up on the 10-day free trial and canceled, they can still get on the 30-day free trial. But once you do the 30-day free trial, you'll not be able to do the trial period again after that. So that's how that works. Mark, honestly, man, this thing is this is by far the simplest. And let me show you something. And I think a lot of times, Mark, the way I present it, because I was trying to give you a really detailed view, for many of you, you might look at this and think, wow, James, that was really, really complicated. Like Mark is saying, like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna be able to do this. Let me explain something to you. First of all, number one, the only truly complicated part is adding the programs, and we will walk you through that. We'll spend an hour on the phone. If you sign up for the 30-day free trial, just email support@instantquotetool.com or click on the contact button and say, I need to go through and add all my programs. We will do it for you. We will do it with you, whatever you want. And so it'll be a great way for you to compare and kind of check, make sure the company you're with is the right company and all that. But at any rate, you have your programs in there. Once your programs are in there, watch how simple this is, okay? Let's say that you believe me that statement analysis is dead, and let's say that you also believe that as long as you pick one of the business types that's here, that the fees are actually going to be correct. Okay, so let's make those two assumptions. You're standing in front of a merchant. You say, Mr. Jones, I'd like to give you a proposal right now. I don't need your statement. I don't need any of that information. I just want to give you a quote right now in about 30 seconds. Can I take 30 seconds of your time right now to tell you how much I might be able to save you? So Mr. Merchant says, sure, you can do that. Watch this. You click this. You say, okay, it's an auto repair business. Put the business name in, Frank's Auto Repair. Save and quote. You say, Frank, let's say that last month, which was the month of July, do you know about how much credit card processing volume you did here at your repair shop? And he says, yeah, we did about 15,000 in volume. You say, okay, great. Do you take American Express? Yeah, we take American Express. Do you know how much you did last month? Oh, not much. We usually do a couple thousand, okay? 2,000. Do you take PIN debit? No, we don't take PIN debit, okay? Do you know what's your average ticket size? Because in our system, it's showing $263 as the average ticket size for most auto repair businesses. Is that about where you're at? And he's going to say, yeah, that's about where we're at. Okay, great. And you leave that in there. And then you say, now, would you like me? I can tell you how much I can save you if you know roughly how much you spend in total fees. Either way, I can tell you what my fees would be, but do you know roughly how much you spent in total fees to process transactions last month? And let's say that he says, yeah, we spent about $583, $580. You know, because he remembers that he got that, or he looks at his bank account. You say, okay, great, Frank, I appreciate it. So let me tell you what I can do for you. So first of all, let me show you something, Frank. First of all, I can tell you that, you paid all that money. Do you realize that as far as Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, their actual cost for processing the $13,000 you did in Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, because we took the $2,000 out for Amex, that was only $160. That was the real cost. Now that's going to catch Frank's attention right off the bat. Only $160, and you can see here we actually rebuilt. This is how your interchange table should look. This is what your cost should be from Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, $160. That's pretty amazing, isn't it, Frank? He's going to say, yeah, that is amazing. Great. Now, let's go ahead and let me give me 1 second. Let me look and see what programs we'd have available for a repair shop. So now you turn the phone back to yourself, right? Because you don't want him to see all your programs with bonuses and stuff. So now you click Compare Program. So you look at this real quick and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm saving this guy a ton of money. Jeez, I think I want to get some additional residual here, right? So you click Decrease Savings, and you've seen this up as I go. Obviously, his fees probably shouldn't be that high, but they could be. So you click on this and say, okay, I'm going to present this one. And now you look at this, and now you say, well, here you go, Frank. Looks like I can save you over the course of a 3-year term with us, which is the average term that a merchant stays with their processor. I'm going to be able to save you over $6,218. Now, what I like to do with your permission, Frank, in order for me to get this started for you, let me see a copy of a current statement so I can validate and make sure all these numbers are exactly right. And then I'm going to bring you back a proposal and paperwork and whatever, and now you move forward. So again, the reason it's called the Instant Quote Tool is because this is what it's designed to do right now. Now, yes, a month from now, you're also going to be able to do the whole thing where you take the statement back home, you key in all the information, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at a solution like, for instance, ClientVine or something like that, the complexity with their system is unbelievable. I can't imagine anybody using something like that. Honestly, it's ridiculous. So this is simple. It's like click, 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 click. Okay, I can save you $6,000 a year. That is an instant quote. It's not a proposal. You're probably still going to end up getting the statement, sending it to your processor, getting the analysis back, getting all the fees on there, going back in, But my point is, you're going to grab his attention without even asking for the statement, without even asking for anything, really. And you're going to grab his attention by showing exactly what you're looking at. So that's what this is really designed to do. And hopefully that kind of clarified the simplicity of it as well. Let's see here. Does the algorithm work for seasonal businesses whose volume may vary during the year? Well, Will, it would. Here's the way it would work. It would work the same way statement analysis would work. In other words, it would work on whatever month you ran it on. Obviously, in terms of the 3-year savings, that wouldn't work because it's, or even annual savings because they're not processing that much. So you would just take a month where they did process and say, during a month when you process, I can save you X, right? But it's not going to, you'd have to go each month individually, right? Because, and really a lot of businesses are like that. A lot of businesses are more cyclical. And so, 1 month may not represent what the next month would be, like a retail for business, for Christmas, So do I need to make an appointment for adding information into my back office, Mark? Yes, you do. What I do, Mark? I'll do it for you myself. I'll work with you on it. I've got some time Monday. So email james@ccsalespro.com. And I tell you what, anybody else on here, there's only how many of you are left on here? 30-something? There's 30 of you left on here. So if you want to... if you want to do this, if you want to add this back in, have me help you with it, just email me. I'll do it for you. I'll do it with you next week. We'll do a go-to-meeting, and I'll help you set it up. So james@ccsalespro.com. Just make sure before the call, Mark, I think you're already signed up, but if you're not, just make sure before the call you go in and set up your free trial, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually log in as you, and then I'm going to walk through setting up your programs for you, and then we can run a couple test statements to make sure it's all working the way that you want. Okay? So james@ccsalespro.com. Again, if you just need general support, for those of you that want a quick answer to a question, just email support@instantquotetool.com, and my team will help you with that. What else? Anybody have any other questions? Let me ask you guys a question. Can I ask everybody a question on here? By a raise of hands over here, How many of you learned something about Interchange that you did not know on today's call? Like, I want to know, like, is this actually helping? Like, are you understanding why Interchange on a statement might be significantly higher than it is in my quote tool here? So just by a raise of hands, how many of you were maybe, I know you understand Interchange a little bit. Were you surprised a little bit with some of the information that was presented today about Interchange? Just raise your hand over to the right. Okay, good. So some of you learned something on there. Okay, let me ask you this question. Oh, wow, a lot of you actually. Okay, well, great. That's really good. That makes me happy that I was able to help you with that. And again, I'm so excited. You guys can't even imagine. I know on this call, I probably seem more low energy than usual because, you guys can't imagine. I'm just totally exhausted. But I am so excited about the algorithm and what's going to be out next week-ish, maybe the week after. I'm going to do another rollout for you. When I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you messages, like I'm talking about detailed messages. This particular retail store is most likely processing additional rewards cards based on their average ticket size, which we've highlighted in green below. Like that kind of message is going to pop up on this thing. It's going to be wild for you to be able to have that to show your merchants. So I'm really excited about it. Now let me ask you one other question. So I'm going to put all the hands down and ask you one more question. How many of you would say with a raise of hands that you understand why let me see, I want to word this the right way. How many of you by raise of hands would say that you understand how it is that you could do a statement analysis with your current company and show a savings amount, and then you could do that same analysis using the same program, the same pricing with the instant quote tool, and you would show significantly higher savings? How many of you by raise of hands would say that you understand that? That clicked with you today, you got it, or you already understood it? Okay, good. Almost all of you. Okay, good. If there's anybody that you're like, James, it's just, I didn't get it yet, seriously, schedule a go-to-meeting with me, because here's the thing about this. I know that once you start using this thing in the field, I know you're going to stick with this thing forever. So it's well worth the time investment for me to spend half an hour or an hour on the phone with you, because I know you're going to, once you get used to it, you're going to use it all the time. And so again, the main thing I really want to get across today is that is the value proposition, right? That's it. That's the key to the whole value proposition, is what it does with the interchange. That's the key. Everything else is gravy on top. I'm going to do all those other things because I know I have to do that in order to really steal everybody away from my competitors that are few and far between anyway. But all my competitors, they've just digitized statement analysis. They haven't done anything. I could have built that stuff good night. I could rebuild these solutions in 2 weeks all by myself. There's nothing to them. There's no algorithm. They're not smart. They don't do anything. You just enter costs, you enter, items and enter fees, and then it spits out a proposal. Good, okay, that was great. Who cares about that? The processor will do that for you for free. Who cares about that? What this does is what nobody else does, which is we start by creating from scratch a table of interchange costs so that you can see this is what the merchant should really be paying. And I can tell you from talking to other users that are using it right now, they will tell you, users that are on here right now will tell you, they are showing more savings with my tool than they are with statement analysis on a very consistent basis, because at least 1 out of 3, maybe 1 out of every 2 merchants is overpaying on interchange as a result of too many downgrades from the way they're processing or whatever, or the interchange is being marked up artificially. There's something happening to their interchange. Okay. Jesse, you could get this now if you wanted to. Again, you mentioned you have an appointment with Ben. The solution is for no matter who you're doing business with, processing with, you can add their programs here. But yeah, you can use this with any company. So if you want to sign up with it, get started, you got a 30-day free trial. So you can use that if you'd like. But I don't see any other questions. Last chance. I appreciate so much your time as always. Let's see here. I have to wait several days for a response from statement analysis. And yeah, honestly, man, that is so true. It's talking about has to wait several days to get the statement back from statement analysis. And that's absolutely true. And the other thing is funny about it, that is the main reason that I actually want to really expand and create the proposal engine, because I know I can do that better than they can too. That's the funny thing about it, I created this tool and I know that nobody even has anything like this. And it's funny, I told my business partner, Ben, and my wife, Christina, I was talking to both of them yesterday, and I told them, I said, I feel like I'm trying to sell purple unicorns. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm trying to sell this thing and like no one even believes that it exists. Like, interchange fees are not set in stone, people. You can change them. They can be altered. It can be a huge savings. And everybody's like, you're selling me a purple unicorn. Those don't exist. It's like, yes, it does. Try it. You're going to see that it works, you know? But the other thing is, that's why I know I can do the proposal engine better. Believe me, if I can make this, we can definitely make a proposal, okay? So we're going to make a proposal engine that's way better than what you're getting from statement analysis as well, and give you the opportunity to key in all their current fees itemized if you want to do that, so you can create your beautiful side-by-side comparison with all the logos, and we're going to customize it for your user ID and all this stuff. So we're working on all that, and we're looking on August 26th is going to be when the proposal engine will roll out. But you know, we're working on all that mainly because I don't want you guys to do this and then feel like, well, I still want to get an analysis done so I can go back to the merchant with a side-by-side, you know. Now, I don't use side-by-side comparisons. I never have, because the merchant like wants to compare every little item, you know. I hate them, but that's me. That's my style. Other people really like doing the side-by-side. I like to just say, I'm going to save you money, sign here, you know. But again, I totally understand that. That's just a different style that I have. Other people enjoy it. All right, everybody. Any other questions? Last chance. Thanks, Jesse. Glad you're new to the industry. Check out ccsalespro.com. I got a bunch of resources there. You can watch training videos and stuff. Anybody else got a question? All right, everybody. Hey, thank you all so much. I'll put this up on YouTube tomorrow, so you can watch the replay if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.